Hey everyone, it's Elicia. It's my first Facebook live video. It's very exciting and vulnerable at the same time because I have no idea what I'm going to say and I can't redo it, but it's okay because it's all about, being imperfect and embracing that. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Elicia Miller, and I have a process that I lead groups of women through, and I work with men privately, going through an very deep emotional healing process to go back to when the original wound was formed in childhood and what you believed about yourself based on what was happening to you. And I teach you how to process out your pain that you've been living from that's been causing all kinds of things such as chronic symptoms or depression, low self-esteem, perfectionism, eating disorders, so many things that have been used to either avoid the pain or project the pain onto other people, numb it, internalize it, taking things personal, or overcompensating for not feeling good enough and looking outside of yourself for approval and love. And so I teach my clients how to reparent themselves and to give yourself the love and approval you've always needed, not based on what other people wanted you to be or do, etc. So today's topic is on triggers. By the way, look at this day in Atlanta. I'm on my deck. The pool is closed, but it's like 60 and absolutely gorgeous. It's a great day to do this video outside. So today's topic is on triggers. Triggers are so important to learn about because as you go through an emotional healing process where you're accessing your pain where you're still living from, or that you haven't processed out from the past, it's hard to just on your own go, okay, how did it feel my whole entire life when I didn't get all of these things, or this person did this to me? And you don't want to process out all your pain all at once anyway. So triggers are a gift. And that's the name of my workshop that I'm doing in Atlanta this Sunday at the end of January. It's January 29th from 1 to 4 in Candler Park. I also teach about triggers in my 60-day program and also on the retreats I do with Janet Raptis. Our next one's coming up March 11th through 18th in Costa Rica, and my next 60-day program is starting in April. So many different ways you can go through the process, but today's focus is on triggers. And so they're a gift. And I say your symptoms are a gift and your triggers are a gift because they're helping you. They're showing you what wants your attention and what needs to be, what's coming up for you to look at and to address. So let's start with how to tell when you're triggered. How to tell when you're triggered is when you have either a strong emotional charge or a strong emotional withdrawal, and it's inappropriate based on what is actually happening. So for example, someone doesn't invite you to a party and you start to cry. So that would be a trigger, an example of a trigger, because no one did anything and no one died, but it's triggering some old pain inside of feeling left out, feeling abandoned, feeling that people don't like you. So that's triggering something for you to look at that you're still feeling on a deep level that came, was from a long time ago. So the reason why it's important to know about triggers is it can help you heal yourself from the past so you don't keep getting triggered. It can also help you stay empowered in your daily interactions with people. So without the trigger, if someone doesn't invite you, there is no emotional reaction. It's just like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to do this instead, or, you know, it's just more of an acceptance. So the trigger is there to help you process what's unhealed that you're still feeling on a deep level. Triggers can also be, for another example will be if someone says something to you, or someone is late or canceled plans, and you are angry and you start to swear, and then it just ruins your entire night. That's an example of another emotional trigger that was a strong reaction, and stronger than appropriate for what happened. If someone canceled or didn't get back to you, without the trigger, it's more of like, oh, well, something happened. So triggers are more of like, it feels very personal, and it feels personal because it's hitting you on a deep level of something that's unhealed. Now, triggers can also be another way to recognize when you're triggered. So we covered if you start to burst out in tears and you feel really hurt, or if you start to get really angry. Road rage could be an example. Another example is if you actually have no emotional reaction, but you have a strong emotional craving. That's when you're like, oh, I need to eat some sugar, I need to drink, I need to smoke. And it's just like this, oh, so something triggered you that made you want to numb whatever was being triggered. Another example, or how to recognize when you're triggered. So there's many different ways. It can just look like an outburst. It can look like a craving. It could look like both. It could also be an emotional withdrawal. So someone asks you out and you feel like you were violated, and you just don't even answer them and you leave the room. So that's like withdrawing from the situation. So you were triggered. Nothing actually happened, but there was something that got triggered from your past. So it doesn't always come from your past, these emotional triggers, but a lot of times it does, and that's why they're so valuable, because people think, oh, I'm triggered, and so just so you know, it doesn't mean that person is the cause of it. And that's the purpose today, is so you can recognize when you're triggered, and to know maybe it's not really what I think is happening, and it could be something inside of me that wants my attention. So other sources of triggers besides the unhealed emotional wounds are shadow projections onto other people. And so any parts of yourself that you're not accepting, it can be good or bad, you can get triggered by other people that, like, say you're denying an aspect of yourself, and you can see that in the other person, and they're always triggering you. You're like, God, I can't stand to be around that person, and I have no idea why. And it's like your own judgments around that aspect of yourself. And another source of trigger is, it's a little different than those. So we talked about the past being triggered for you to use as information of what needs to be addressed from the past. Also, things to accept and integrate, aspects of yourself. And then there can be triggers of someone is actually breaking your boundary, or you're breaking your own boundary. And then you can feel a strong emotional trigger around that. And I'm going to go into all of those in more detail in my trigger workshop this Sunday in Atlanta, January 29th. I'm going to have more of these. I'll do an online webinar as well on triggers. And this is such a valuable thing to learn, for everyone to learn, so you don't feel victimized by other people or politicians. Like, No one's doing anything to you, but they are helping you see what you need and what you want, what you need to address to be free from anything that's in your unconscious. So your symptoms are a gift. The reason why I say that as well is because emotional triggers can come out in physical symptoms. So my tagline is your symptoms are a gift, and I work with people who are experiencing strong emotional symptoms. And so chronic symptoms can be chronic repression of emotions, and so that's why I have a core emotional healing program that complements the physical treatments that people go through to cover all aspects of why it's showing up in your body. And your symptoms really are helping you see what you can't see, that you're not aware of, and that's what I specialize in. So oftentimes, so when I'm working with clients in a group, they'll experience, as they're processing emotions, and they're coming back into their body. So a lot of people, most people, aren't fully embodied, and once you start to feel safe enough to feel and to process your emotions, you may experience more symptoms flaring up, and it's because you're now allowing your body to process what's been frozen and repressed. And so the symptoms may flare up as you're processing the emotions. Now, you may have an emotional trigger where you're so used to not feeling and being kind of stoic and numb and calm, and all of a sudden you get bloated. Someone says something that triggers men disrespecting you, and all of the ways you haven't been really respected and heard, and all of a sudden you get bloated because it's triggering some repressed anger. Other things are like if someone is not wanting to go out in public, or they don't feel good enough, they may get skin rashes. It's kind of like a protection. So there's so many messages here to help you, and that's what I love to do, is to help you learn how to listen to your body and listen to your own emotional reactions, your own emotional withdrawals, your cravings, all of it, so you don't feel like it's out of your control, and you're just binging on food and you don't know why, or you're angry all the time, or you can't say what you want to say because you're afraid, because you've been hurt before, and all of these things. So instead of feeling victimized by life and your symptoms and your cravings, you can use them to be empowered and free yourself from the past, so you then become integrated, and you're not responding from these wounds anymore, and you process them out, so then you can live more from your own guidance system. It's not based on your old wounds and responding from that place. It's just coming from, how do I feel? So after you clear out a lot of these old triggers, then you respond to life in a more calm way, in a more empowered way, and you know what to do, you know how you feel, and you're able to be in your heart more. That's another benefit of processing out your triggers. What I find is most of my clients have closed off their heart because they've been hurt so much, and so it's hard to share, and really connect on a deep level with other people if you're protecting your heart. Plus, you're most fulfilled when you are living from your heart, and you're experiencing life, and you're taking in life, and you're feeling all emotions. So feeling and processing even the painful emotions or uncomfortable emotions, such as sadness and anger, it helps you be to feel more deeply, and that's how we feel more fulfilled in life. So, and then you can just receive all the love that's all around you, and just be more loving to yourself and to others, and because you're not projecting and getting triggered all over the place. So there's so much benefit in all of that. So I thank you for all of you for joining me. If you just joined, hi. I am really excited about this Facebook Live. I hope you enjoyed my first video. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to write them in the comments, and we'll do more. So thank you. Remember, your triggers and your symptoms are a gift. Love you. Bye-bye.